Hello, this is a video going over the Unit 4 practice test, and this particular video is going to go through problems 6 through 9. In question 6, I see a greatest common factor. Every time I have the direction solve by factoring, I want to ask myself, is there a common factor? And in this problem, 2 is a common factor. It is the greatest common factor, the largest thing that comes out of all 3 of those terms. Then I want to look at this part in parentheses, and I'm super excited because I have a trinomial and the leading coefficient is a 1. It's just 1x squared. So I'm going to write my factors and think, okay, well, I need x times x to get x squared. And then I need to think about multiplying to -4, but adding to +3. 4 and 1 would multiply to 4. If I made this positive and this negative, I'd multiply to -4. And then my adding 4x and -1x would be 3x. That's it. Then I set each factor equal to 0. Can 2 equal 0? Nope. Can x plus 4 equal 0? Only if x equals -4. Can x minus 1 equal 0? Only if x equals 1. So these are my solutions. Okay, next problem. First thing I notice is I do not have 0. I need 0 in my hero on the other side of that equation. Otherwise, what is the point of factoring even? There would be none. So I'm going to add 18x over. And, oh, I could combine like terms. Let's see, that would be 60x. Just for the sake of space, you guys, I'm going to actually put that together right off the bat. Okay, so sorry about the erasing and moving, but I know I'm going to run out of room if I don't do that. Okay, so I've got that. Now I need to think about the fact that this says factoring. I need to think about if I have a GCF. I do. All of those divide by 3. All of them contain 1x. Some of them contain more x's than that, but the most that they have in common is a single x. Now, in doing that, I would be left with x squared. Let's see, 27 with a 3 divided by it is 9. Take out or divide by this 1x, and I have an x left over. Take 60 and divide by 3, and I get 20. And the x is already a factor on the outside, so this is good to go now. Now I have the kind of factoring here that I had in that problem. Okay, that's the same kind of factoring. So I'm going to carry along my 3x. And write my 2 parentheses. Say, well, I need an x and an x to get x squared. I need 2 numbers that multiply to 20. But add up to 9. 1 and 20, that's not it. 2 and 10, that's not it. 4 and 5, that's winner, winner, chicken dinner. Okay, now set each factor equal to 0. Can 3x equal 0? It can if x equals 0. Can x plus 4 equal 0? It can if x is -4. Can x plus 5 equal 0? Yes, if x is -5, that would be a true statement. So these are my 3 solutions. All right, moving along. Number 8, also factoring. Has 4 terms. I don't see a GCF. I do see that I have equals 0. So I like the 0. Don't have a GCF, but 4 terms makes me think I could try grouping. So in the purple part, my greatest common factor would be x squared. I'm left with x minus 3. In the red underlined part, my GCF is 4. And I want to be left with x minus 3 because that's what the other parenthesis was. So I'm going to write x minus 3. Now I'm going to think about, is that 4 really adding, like a positive 4, or subtracting 4? And it really needs to be like subtracting, like a minus, in order to have -4 times -3 be positive 12. And -4 times x be -4x. Right? Those are kind of key things to notice. Okay, remember that with grouping, you need your parentheses to match in order to have successfully grouped. Okay, and this is equal to 0. So I have that common x minus 3 in both parts of my question. So I'm going to write that out in front, x minus 3. The leftover bits from the purple are x squared, and the leftover bits from the red, minus 4. Now this is factored because I have multiplication. So you have a little bit of a choice. We could factor the x squared minus 4 further using the difference of squares pattern. That would look like this. And then you could set each factor equal to 0, and that would give you these solutions, 3, 2, and negative 2, from setting each of those parts in green equal to 0. You could also, at this point, solve with square roots. Say, okay, I've got x squared minus 4 equals 0, x squared equals 4, take the square root of both sides. If I square root a variable squared, the other side gets a plus and minus, and the square root of 4 is 2. These two answers are what you got over here, right? So that's possible. We could do it that way, but we also could do it with the difference of squares pattern. So I'm going to erase this just for space. It's not wrong at all. It's perfectly right. It's just a choice, okay? So either way, you come up with the answers of 2 and negative 2 from that part, and then this part up here gives you the 3. Those are your 3 answers. Okay, let's take a look at this guy. Now this guy does not have a greatest common factor. We do have equals 0. However, our leading coefficient on this is not 1. This is a split the middle term situation. So take 2 times negative 7 and you get negative 14. Forget the negative for a minute and just write pairs of numbers that multiply to equal 14. Then remember the negative and say, well, one of those has to be negative, one of those has to be positive. How do I take a pair of numbers from here and get an addition problem that has an answer of negative 13? That would be this pair right here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so positive 1 and negative 14. That's our guy. Now I'm just going to erase this because of space. Okay, so we're going to take 2x squared, and we're going to have minus 14 plus 1. You don't have to write the 1 I just wrote. You can, though. Up to you. 1x and x. Same thing, guys. Okay. Then I'm going to factor by grouping. I do my underlining. In the green part, the greatest common factor is 2x, which leaves me with x minus 7. The blue part looks like it doesn't really have a greatest common factor, but in grouping you have to write something outside of this parenthesis. So I'm going to write 1, and in particular I'm going to write adding 1, positive 1. That's what makes my signs work. Sometimes factoring out negative 1 is what might make your signs work. Okay, but in this case 1 times x, in this case 1 times x, and 1 times negative 7 makes the part that has the blue underline. Okay, now I look for what the parentheses, with the parentheses that match. That's my common factor of x minus 7. The leftover part from over here is 2x, and the leftover part from over here is plus 1. Okay, if I set each factor equal to 0, x minus 7 equals 0, means x has to be 7. If 2x plus 1 is equal to 0, okay, now I'd subtract 1, and I would divide by 2. Here's subtracting 1, here's dividing by 2, and I would get negative 1/2. So my two answers are 7 and negative 1/2. All right, that's the end of this video. Come to the next video if you want to hear about 10, 11, and 12.